It's the Real Estate Podcast, brought to you by ANZ Home Loans for financial well-beings.
Look, the Mid-Mountains is nicely situated. It'll be about a 30-minute or 35-minute commute to the hub of the new airport. In terms of prices, I think we'll see growth. All the improved infrastructure and transport has made the Blue Mountains a heck of a lot more accessible because you can be 30 minutes away, live in paradise here and commute down.
And that is Paul ORiordan, and we'll be getting back to that conversation in just a moment as we welcome you back to another episode of the Real Estate Breakfast. Yes, more property insights coming up this morning, connecting you to the best real estate information across Australia. And we are here doing it for you 7 days a week, talking to all of the important real estate experts from around the country for that unbiased point of view. And you can stream us anytime, anywhere on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts and Amazon. Well, the weekend, yahoo! It is here, a Saturday morning, February the 22nd. Another busy auction day around Australia. And if you're an auctioneer, you might be having breakfast, just mulling over the details of the properties you're calling today. And for homeowners selling and for buyers hoping to buy, securing that dream home perhaps this coming weekend, good luck to all. May the day end on a positive note for you. Well, Australia's regional housing markets have remained strong with property values rising. This is from CoreLogic, rising 1% in the 3 months to January, while capital city values have declined by 0.7%. However, growth patterns, they say, are shifting with signs of a slowdown emerging. Western Australia and Queensland led the gains with Geraldton up 6.3%, Albany 5.9% up and Mackay 5.7% in the positive. Yet momentum is easing as Gladstone's growth rate has halved since July. With 28 markets, they have seen slower quarterly growth compared to previous months. So that is all coming from CoreLogic this morning. Right now, let's catch up once again with Paul ORiordan. He is the principal of ORiordan Real Estate in the Blue Mountains. And good morning to you, Paul. Welcome back to the Real Estate Breakfast. I mentioned how busy these auction days are on a Saturday morning, but you guys are not so busy. You can kind of relax a little bit when it comes to auctions.
Good morning, Craig. Well, I'm not sure I'd be saying we're relaxing, but the Blue Mountains is predominantly a private treaty market. So there's a few auctions every now and then, but 96% of our market and our sales and transactions are private treaty.
And this morning we're going to be talking about, in particular, the mid-mountains. Now, what are some of the current trends that is helping shaping the mid-mountains property market, especially with how they compare to perhaps past years? Have buyer demand and also pricing or inventory levels shifted? And if so, what are any of the factors that are influencing those changes?
Yeah, look, the Mid-Mountains has seen a bit of a shift. There's less stock on the market, but the strong buyer demand for solid, good properties is very much there. So predominantly we sell to Sydney metro area. They're making the migration up the hill, and it's still very much the same now. In years gone by, looking for a small mountain cottage, a bit of a doer-upper, add value to it over time. There's been a real shift away from that, and it's more move-in ready with as little renovation as possible. That's the more popular kind of property at the moment. And the key driver, obviously, with the rest of the country, it's affordability. The starting prices are a lot higher now than they were a couple of years ago, and that coupled with high renovation costs. And I think people's time, they're a little bit more time poor. They're working very hard to pay the mortgage, and there's not a lot of time left over to do major renovations.
Yeah, interesting that you say that people are buying these ready properties, because I think potentially towards the end of this year, depending on how many of these rate cuts that we get, that might sort of swing the pendulum a little bit. What do you think?
Look, it may very well do, and look, let's hope it does. Depending on renovation costs, the costs that we've seen recently, if you're changing the footprint to a property up here, it can be $150,000 plus. So depending on what you're doing, but look, anything with interest rates going down is going to mean a more positive outcome for owners of property in the mid-mountains. That is for certain.
Yeah, and when you look at any postcode across Australia, you have families, investors, downsizers, upsizers, they're all transacting. And in the mid-mountains, who are the dominant buyers there, and what specific property features and areas are people gravitating towards at the moment?
Yeah, look, the mid-mountains is very much families, young families and first home buyers at the moment. Investors were there as well, but look, we haven't seen investors any great numbers for probably a couple of years now. Obviously, these interest rate cuts, if they come to fruition, will probably impact that, and we're likely to see more investors on the ground. But look, young families, they're looking close to schools. We've got great parks, a good lifestyle up here, a large block if they can get it, but most blocks are kind of 700 square metres up, privacy from the neighbours, and things like that. A 4-bed, 2-bath in the mid-mountains is around the 950 to $1 million mark. So really good buying for a solid home.
And we are talking on our Saturday morning to Paul ORiordan. Also, one of the buzz things that is taking place at the moment is the new airport. So we'll talk all about that after this.
Every morning from 6 a.m, we bring you the latest real estate news with diverse perspectives from leading industry experts. We deliver the most property podcasts across Australia every week.
You might remember a couple of weeks ago, I spoke to Mike in Perth about how people will go into a shared rental and sign up for a 1 or 2 year lease with people that they don't even know. But they won't go into buying a property with a brother, a mate, or a friend. And I asked him what he thought the disconnect was with that.
I think we're so affected to think that property investment is out of reach. And so it doesn't even cross our mind. You know, the idea, everyone thinks that they need to save a huge deposit. Everybody believes they need to do all of these factors. And so they don't do anything. Yet they'll, when they're looking for a house, rather than seeing what are the ways or the non-traditional ways to get into property ownership now, what's the soonest that I can get in, they'll rather jump in with a bunch of random people and live there. And everyone's had a roommate that they hated. Everyone's had someone who's horrible from that. So you might argue with your uncle, your brother, your cousin, your mate, but better off to be making money and putting yourself in a position of home ownership than just trying to rent a property. And why not? Why not look to multi-generational living? Why not look to multi-friendship aspects or find somebody? You know, the government tried this in a small way a few years ago, but I think it's something, I really believe it's one of the only options for a lot of people now, because they are priced out of the market. And it's not that the market's not affordable, it's just that affordable range has shifted and it's never going to come down. Like you said, the affordability is up between 8 to 900,000, average price for a home.
Every morning from 6 a.m. across Australia, we deliver you the latest property news, commentary and predictions from Perth to Cairns and from Melbourne to Brisbane, 7 days a week.
And it is a Real Estate Saturday. We are talking to Paul. He's in the Blue Mountains. And we talk about many, many different postcodes and their behaviour within them from buyers and sellers. Because as we say, not every postcode has the same seasonal patterns, the economic conditions or market trends for real estate transacting. So in that particular area that we're discussing, mid-mountains, when is the best time to transact, do you think?
Traditionally, everybody says spring. I guess the issue there with spring, obviously the gardens look beautiful, but if there's 10 houses for sale in winter, there'll be 30 houses for sale in spring, which can mean more competition. So you possibly get you spread a little bit thinner, buyers are spread a little bit thinner. The main constant really for the mid-mountains, it's really seasonal, is around the Christmas break. So from about the 1st of December to early January, you see a drop in listings and a drop in buyer activity. And the only other real time that it's negatively impacted in listings or transactions is around federal elections. Actually, for whatever reason, people sit on their hands in the build up to a federal election. As soon as it's called, it's back to normal. So the buyer sentiment and interest rates and economic conditions are the major impactors. There's no real better time to list or to sell. Obviously, if you're buying, you want as many competition or many properties to choose from as possible.
Yeah, political elections, they always do have some sort of an influence at the time building up, and then of course you've got the outcome the other side and things start to flow a little bit more readily. Now let's get on to this big one. The buzzy talk about Western Sydney is the new airport. Why is this important? Because it's a major piece of infrastructure. And I would argue, is there a bigger attraction like an airport for investors especially to look at that development and start making some smart choices around that hub that is servicing such a wide area? So how much of an impact, Paul, for the Blue Mountains property market could that new airport influence the demand and everything else that kind of flows from it, do you think?
Look, I really think it will. But look, the Mid-Mountains is nicely situated. It'll be about a 30-minute or 35-minute commute to the hub of the new airport. In terms of prices, I think we'll see growth. All the improved infrastructure and transport has made the Blue Mountains a heck of a lot more accessible. There will be concerns, obviously, around the noise and potential environmental impacts. But I think overall, the net gain for Blue Mountains property in general, and especially the Mid-Mountains, will be a positive one, because you can be 30 minutes away, live in paradise here, and commute down, as opposed to living underneath in new developments that at the moment aren't built yet. So there will be a time frame there of, the Blue Mountains being extremely popular, I think.
Yeah, and of course, that 30-minute drive, the access of that is so quick, and you're going to have people that are going to be living in the Blue Mountains potentially working a lot further away. They go to the airport, jump on the flight, off they go, come back in the weekends. Who knows what they'll do, but if they're after that lifestyle, it just creates that opportunity, doesn't it?
It really, really does. And it's not just the airport, it's the infrastructure that's going to go in around it. Talk of film school in Penrith as well. So a huge amount of capital expenditure happening over the next 5 to 10 years. And that's only going to be a net positive, I believe, in price growth for the Blue Mountains.
All right, film school. We'll have to find out a little bit more about that. Hey, Paul, great to chat with you on our Saturday morning. Have yourself a fantastic weekend and look forward to talking again soon.
Thank you very much, Craig. Always a pleasure.
Every morning from 6 a.m, we bring you the latest real estate news with diverse perspectives from leading industry experts. We deliver the most property podcasts across Australia every week.
They are seeing increased demand as more city residents relocate and fewer leave regional areas. This trend has actually driven stronger price growth outside of Perth. So what are you seeing around all of that trend?
Naturally, most areas regionally in Western Australia are cheaper than Perth. So as people struggle to reach those heights in the city, they're moving to places like Bunbury, Albany, Busselton, Kalgoorlie. Obviously, they're going there because they've got work, and that's a big positive, where historically a lot of these towns were a bit quieter. Most of these towns have 0, 1 or 2 builders in them. And so when you have a small increase in population growth and therefore demand for housing, the cost to construct those homes is far and above the median house price in those suburbs in the first place for the established homes.
We connect you to the best real estate information across Australia. The Real Estate Podcast.